Hello, class. Today we'll be doing your advanced project 4 through 7 step-by-step guide on how to do. If you need help finding where to find this project, go ahead and go to your SimNet, your week 4 module, and it should be your advanced project 4 through 7. Okay, let us begin. We want to go ahead and download our start file here in the download of number 1. Go ahead and open up your sheet, and your sheet should look something like this. Okay, once we have this enabled, we are going to head and start with part 1, question 1. We want to open your Excel sheet and we want to make sure that we are not in protected view and make sure you click the enable editing button. We are now on step 2. Step 2, we want to apply condition formatting with a formula. We are wanting to select cells E5 through E26 on the listing sheet. Go ahead and navigate to your bottom left of your Excel spreadsheet. And in the bottom left, you should see a listings in the far left sheet table. Go ahead and press listings, and it should pull up this. Next thing we want to do, we want to highlight E5 all the way down to E26. Go ahead and click that off. And now we are going to build a condition formatting formula to display the address cell in light tan for frame construction. The formula is equal K5 equals quotation frame and quotation. Okay, we're going to click back to our Excel file. Should still be highlighted. And we should be on the Home tab. Go to the Styles quadrant and go ahead and click on Condition Formatting. Go down to Manage New Rules. Go ahead and click that. And it should bring this up for Windows users. For Mac users, you should only be having this Edit the Rule description box where you have format out cells based on their values. If you're a Mac user, go ahead and click this 2-color scale drop-down box. And at the bottom, it should say Classic. Go ahead and click the Classic button, and it should pull up this menu for what I'm about to show you. For Windows users, we want to go down to Use a Formula to determine which cells to format. Go ahead and click that. And right here, it should bring up this format values where this formula is true. Mac users will have this box now that show above this box right here. And you should be able to find this, use a formula to determine which cells to format. Now that your pop-up box looks something like this, we are going to be inserting our formula. We're going to be putting in equals K5 equals quotation, frame, and quotation. Now we should be able to go to format for Windows users. Go to this third column right here. Click that color. Make sure that you're in the fill header. And go ahead and press OK. For Mac users, you should see change customization right here, where it'll be right here. If not, it'll be the exact same as format. Go ahead and press OK. And we should see now that every place that says frame and construction should now be highlighted in light gray. Go ahead and make sure that your Excel spreadsheet looks like mine. And we're ready to move on. We are now on part 3 of the assignment. We are going to be creating a pivot fields in the pivot table and completing formatting. We want to go to the select pivot sheet table. Go ahead and go to the bottom left of your Excel spreadsheet and find pivot table. Go ahead and click it. And it should pop up with this pivot table. If you're not seeing this pivot table fields, go ahead and click on your pivot table analyze, and go to your show quadrant. And it should be this field list button right here. Moving on, we want to deselect the city field in the pivot table fields pane. See the city right here? We should deselect that. We want to show the agent ID in the rows area. Seems as though we do have agent ID already selected. So it seems to be in columns. So we want to move it down to rows. Go ahead and click and drag. and drag it down to rows. Next part, we should be on show the sale price 2 times in the values area. We already have one sale price here, so we're gonna go ahead and add another. Go ahead and click and drag and bring it down to values. We should be seeing this values field pop up in columns. Do not worry about it. That is required for this assignment. We next want to do format the first occurrence as sale price with a custom name and change the currency with 0 decimals. There are 2 ways to change the name of your values. We can either press B3, the cell B3, and change the name to total sales. Or we can do a different way, which is what I would recommend. And go down to your values field box right here. Go ahead and click this drop-down arrow and go to value field settings. Going to click that, and there should be a pop-up bar that shows up right here. We should change this name now to total sales. And we should change it to currency. So in this pop-up box in the bottom left, we should see number format. Go ahead and press number format. Find currency and change the decimal places to 0. Go ahead and press OK. And go ahead and press OK again. We should see that now the pivot table column name has changed and it's in currency value. Now moving on to part F, we are going to do the exact same thing, but with one extra step. We want to go down to our values field box, click that drop-down menu, click on value field settings, and we want to change the name. Change the name to average sale. And before we go to number format, we want to change it from sum to average. Go ahead and change that name if it does change for you. Now go ahead and go to number format, go to currency, 0 decimal places, and go ahead and press OK. Go ahead and press OK again. Oops, not sale price, average sale. Go ahead and press OK. And we should see that this column has now changed to average sale in the currency format. Once our table looks like this, we would then move on to part G. We want to click on our pivot table, go to the very top of our Excel file, and right next to our pivot table analyze, go to the right and click design. Once we're in design, we should see this pivot table styles right here. And for Mac users, there should be a little arrow underneath these charts. Go ahead and click that to see a bigger view of all the chart colors. For Windows users, come over here to the right side and click on this bottom down arrow. And we should see this giant menu. We want to apply a light gray pivot style of 15. We want to make sure that we're in the light category and find it on the second column on the bottom, white pivot style 15, light gray pivot style 15. Go ahead and click that, and it should change the color of your pivot table. Last step of part 3 is select your cells from A3 to C9. Go to Home. Go to this drop-down menu, this box underneath your font and your font size. Click the drop-down menu and go to All Borders and go ahead and click it. Our pivot table should now have borders. Go ahead and double check if your pivot table looks like mine and the field settings are in the correct spots. Moving on to part 4, we are going to be add a calculated field to a table. We are going to go ahead and go to the table sheet, go to the bottom left of your Excel file, find the table sheet in the bottom left, and go ahead and open it. We want to be on cell 04, and we want to type in days. Go ahead and press enter. and we should format automatically with the header. In cell 05, we want to build an if formula to display the number of days on the market if the sale date is greater than the list date. We're going to go ahead and go to formulas, insert function, search up if, should be the first function you see. Make sure it's highlighted and go ahead and press OK. Should see this function arguments box that pops up now. I'm going to shift our Excel file to the left. In our logical test, we want to test if the sale date is greater than the listed date. Okay, so what we would do is that we would click M5 for our sale date is greater than, go ahead and enter a greater hand sign, then our list date. Our list date, go ahead and click B5. Okay, that should be done. Now we should move on to value if true. If our sale date is greater than the listed date, then we want to go to part 4D, and we want to minus the sale date to the listed date. Go ahead and click on M5 minus B5. For our false statement, if the sale date is not greater than the listed date, we just want to return an empty space. Go ahead and do a quotation, space, quotation. Go ahead and double check your formula looks like mine. And go ahead and press OK. Excel should automatically fill in all the rest of these. And don't worry if these are blank, they are supposed to be blank. I'm going to check off all the boxes in part 4, and we are now on part 5. In part 5, we want to select the cell A4 in pivot table. And then we want to go to insert pivot table. Should pop up with this box right here. And we want to double check that our table is highlighted. To tell if it's highlighted, we should see a green border around our entire data table. Once our data table is highlighted, we're going to press New Worksheet and press OK. Should pop up with a new bar, new Excel sheet that says Sheet 2. First thing we want to do is that we want to change the name of the sheet. Go to the very bottom, either double click or right click and click rename. And we're going to put in pivot table space 2. Make sure that your P and T are capitalized and there's a space between the two. Go ahead and go back up, click in this pivot table, and it should pop up with pivot table field values. If this does not pull up for you, go ahead and go to pivot table analyze, go to your show quadrant, and click on field list. Now on part C, we want to place the listing ID in the field in the rows area. So we have list ID. Go ahead and click and drag to the rows. And then we should put the list price and sell price in the values area. So list price, we're going to go drag and to values. And we find sell price down here. And we drag it to values. This value should pop up in columns, and it should be there. Do not worry about it. It is a part of your assignment. We are now going to be editing the labels in row 3 to listing, list, and sale. We're going to be editing it in here, or you can edit it in the field value setting, like how I did it before, but we're going to do it like this. And these should change their names. We should now format the lists and the sales price as currency with no decimals. Go ahead and go down to your values area. Click on the list drop-down menu, value field settings, number format, click on currency and 0 decimals. Go ahead and press OK. Should change that. Go ahead and go down to your sale value. Left click on that drop-down menu. Click on value field settings. Go to number format and go to currency. Make sure there's 0 decimals and press OK. And press OK again. And this should look like this. We are now on part 6, and we're going to be inserting a calculated field into our pivot table. Make sure that you have your pivot table highlighted. Go to pivot table analyze, and in the calculations quadrant, go to field items and sets. And the first thing you should see is calculated field. Go ahead and click on calculated field. It should pop up with this. We're going to change the name of our calculated field to difference. And for our formula, we're going to be subtracting our list price. So go ahead and find list price, double click or insert field, minus our sales price. Double check your formula looks like this, and the name of your calculated field says difference. Oops, it should be an E. There you go. And go ahead and press OK. On part B, we want to change the display label for the calculated field to variance. 2 different ways to do this. We can go ahead and click on D3. Oops. Full Z. Change it from here. Or we can change it down here in our value setting and click the drop-down menu and value field settings. Next thing we want to do is that we want to format our values to show negative numbers in red parentheses. So go ahead and go down to your values, go to your variance, click the drop-down menu, value field settings, go to number format, make sure you're on currency, and we should change this negative numbers into the bottom option. Go ahead and press OK. And press OK again. And we should now see negatives in red and parentheses. We are now on the last step, and we are going to select all the cells from A3 to D26, and we're going to apply an all border. Make sure you double check that your Excel sheet looks like mine. And now we're ready to turn in our Excel sheet. Make sure you go to File, Save As, Browse, and you can either put it in your desktop or your documents or in a place that you can remember. I'm going to put it in my documents. I'm going to press Save, and it should save. Scroll back up on your assignment. Before we turn in our sheet, let's go ahead and look back to our other Excel sheets. Let's go to pivot table, should look like this. Go to table, should look like this. Have your days, have your if conditions. Go to pivot table, should look like this. We should go to our listings. Should look like this. Once we are sure that this is our file, we are going to go ahead and close our file. And this, upload my file. go to where you saved your file, press open. And if you're not sure if this is the file that you're wanting to turn in, you can always press this hyperlink right here, and it should be able to download a copy. You should be able to view it. I'm pretty confident that this is mine, so I'm going to press submit. If you followed my steps, you should be able to get 100% on this assignment. If you're unsure about what you missed and you didn't get 100%, and you have questions for your professors or your TAs, please always send a screenshot of what you got wrong. Open up your Excel file, take a look at where you missed it, take a screenshot, and then send an email to your professor or your TA. I hope this helps, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.